Hello and welcome to the How to Trade Like a Pro podcast. I'm Wieland Arlt, and in this episode I'm talking with Roman Bogomazov about the mindset of a trader and how to become a real professional trader. Before we start, please take a closer look at the risk disclaimer in the show notes. And now, have fun and enjoy the conversation. I'm here with Roman Bogomazov, and with Roman, I'm talking for years already about trading, being a white coffee, a bit at least, and we met first time in 2020, at the online conference of the IFTA. So you were a speaker, I was the organizer, so that was the first starting point of our friendship, and we met recently in San Francisco, and there the idea was born to talk about trading for this podcast. Roman, I'm so happy that you have the time, that you commit yourself for this podcast, and therefore I'm really, really happy to welcome you in this podcast. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. Really happy to be here. We had such a great time in San Francisco. Yeah, that was awesome. So let's do this again, and just looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah. So first thing always is, and I'm curious myself, how did your way started to become a trader? Because usually people are not natural born being a trader and starting from scratch. Most of us have some kind of other career before that. How did you start? What's your story?
Well, I probably was lucky in that regard. So when I was at the university, I saw some technical analysis books that attracted me to the technical analysis field and then trading. So my first trade that I put on, I think I was like 19 years old, and instantly I've seen the benefit of it. Like, oh, everything just depends on me. And there is no dependence on anyone else. Like there is no delegation of responsibility. Like if I lose, this is me. If I win, this is me as well. So there was some kind of appeal to that. There was an appeal to the like intellectualization of the market as well, the reasons why it behaves this way. There was also the allure of like, yeah, you could really like if you're good, you could make really good money really quick, and you could build up the wealth that way. So all of those points attracted me to trading, and I kind of this is what got me started on this path.
Nice. So you had an early start, which is amazing. Most of us have some detour once in a while, but having an early start is very, very well. So how did you continue then? So from the very beginning, the first thoughts. So
My next step probably was as common as everyone else's. I started trading and I lost, right? So it instantly pushed me into like, I do not know anything about trading or technical analysis. So let me educate myself. So I went into the education. I was pretty
yeah,
lucky there as well because in San Francisco, Golden Gate University, Hank Pruden at that time, I came to Hank. I found him, and then in the first 5 minutes, he shows me the chart. He explains Wyckoff principles, and I always say, he got me at the first chart. You know,
you hooked
yeah,
from the very beginning.
from the very beginning. Yeah, he showed me, and he's like, "Look at this, boom, 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 boom," and I'm like, "This is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life." So,
Yeah,
and I was 20 at that time, or something like that. So was pretty lucky. It was him. He mentored me for years and years, like periodically, first as a student, then as a colleague, then as a part of the community, technical analysis community. So I'm extremely grateful to Hank Pruden and the whole family at Golden Gate University for raising me, in so many different ways, like whether it's just the technical analysis or the way how to teach people, the way how to coach people, or just, human education, like being a good human. Being, yeah.
yeah. I get this point. Like human education, this is what happens usually when you enter the markets. You feel like you're the king, and then you learn how to stay humble, and you get your basic human education. Maybe your parents missed to teach you. The market will cover this for sure. Right?
Yes. The
Yeah.
market is the mirror into self, at the very high level of trading, and I'm talking about professional trading. whether it's a professional institutional trader, you know, professional retail trader. Every trader faces at some point at that high technical level skill a reflection of self in trading.
Mhm.
And basically, trading exposes, like the mirror exposes everything, all of the imperfections in your thinking, in your behaviors, and your reactions. And it becomes a part of your training that you need to do, the obstacles that you need to overcome, the challenges that are the most profound, the most subliminal, the most unconscious challenges that we face in trading. It's not the technicals, because the technicals are pretty easy. You know, like it's not the system building, which is pretty easy. It's not the back testing. It's not the practice. It's the last step. And there are some sub steps in that last step. It's overcoming the self. I say, I have a phrase for my students: we trade against our fate. I could also equate that to we trade against our mental landscape that we
Yeah.
were grown into in our environments when we were children, when we went through like some, parenting stuff with our parents, right? So they gave us a lot of those behaviors, reactions that we have right now. And then when we come to trading, we basically trade in our mental landscape that we have in our lives. So if you are reactive, you're going to be, you know, coming in into a winning position, getting out too early, maybe oversizing, having a bigger loss, and all of those are just like the consequence. It's the consequence that we see. We don't understand the reasons. So one of the journey that we're on as traders is to understand that cause and effect relationship between the two, and then go to the cause and try to explore that, become aware of that, become aware of your behavioral patterns in trading, and then create the mental and technical algorithm to change this, to adjust as you go through this journey. And only that type of training actually, elevates you to the positions where, like, you become an elite trader.
Mhm. I mean, seriously, I'm almost missing words. That was really a tough one. You're trading against your fate. I mean, if you need to let this sink in, what this really means, like it's like you're destined to be someone, but you want to be someone else. So you're just going against it. And it's so tough to understand but it's the truth for sure. Because you have your upbringing, you have your environment, you have your beliefs on money, on success, on work, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a position where you get rich with a click of a mouse, right?
Yes.
So where's the hard work gone? So how much is this compared to my dad's salary? All the stuff coming into your mind. And this is the
Yes.
moment where people literally freak out, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah. And I say trading is probably the easiest, or from the like pressing the buy and sell buttons point of view, right? It just, as you said, two buttons. There is nothing else really.
Sure.
But then, like you need to put the meaning behind each press, right? Why, the logic behind it. And then you need to be able to press it at the correct time, to press it with the correct size, and, to be efficient on your, like, staying in the trade, and there are so many elements just on the technical level, but the psychological level of understanding of why you do things or you don't things is something that is missing from trading education. And I'm not saying like we don't have a lot of people that actually do that stuff. I think what is missing is not that we don't have great like coaches there. I know a lot of great coaches that are psychological coaches on trading. I think that because of a very low level, technical level, let's say of the retail people, there is less of the understanding of the importance of the psychology. So when students come to me and I see that there's like this gap in the technicals, and they come to me and they say like, I think that all of my trades, are failing because of my psychology. And I know that it is the truth. But when I give them the chart and they say, could you read the chart for me? What do you think? Is this an accumulation or a distribution? And they go through this and I see the logic, like in the first sentence, I realized that, you need to increase your technical level. So for those of you who are listening to this podcast and you're thinking like, okay, well, what is the first step for me right now to do in order for me to become kind of like that elite trader or like a professional retail trader? And the professional retail trader I usually define as a retail trader who extracts the lifestyle expenses from trading and nothing else. You pay
Yeah.
for everything. You pay for
Yeah.
your gas utilities, for your mortgages, for your trips, for everything, for your food from trading of the markets. And then you maybe have some extra that you put into the investments and savings. That to me means that you are a professional retail trader. To get to this level, usually students come and they say, I need somewhere between 10 to 20,000 per month. How do you get there? You can't get there through the psychology right away. It wouldn't make sense. It's almost like you would figure out how to mentally be in the Daytona competition, but you never would figure out the technical part of how to drive a speedy car. So you need your level of technical knowledge at the very high level. So you need to study. And there are certain shortcuts after all of these years working like with being a student, working with students, teaching, coaching, being at the Golden Gate University as a teacher, being in a nonprofit like IFTAR, at TSA, ASF, other organizations, and then now in the private education for trading and seeing thousands of students just going through the different systems. You know,
Mhm.
I would say prioritize your time, prioritize your energy. I'm seeing a lot of knowledge hoarding. Like I see a lot of smart people withdrawing emotionally from the consequences of their own trading actions. They're just afraid to look inside themselves.
Yeah.
And what do? Or what do we usually do as people? Emotionally, we withdraw and then we become teachers like me, right? So are you. Yeah. So we kind of like over educate ourselves so much
Yeah.
and to the benefit of others and yourselves, of course. But I just want everybody to recognize that that's what we do. And that's normal. I mean, like that's a normal human reaction to withdraw and just to find something else, like other ways. But if you are a person like that, you're hoarding knowledge, like 20 different methodologies, you need only, simple things, but, very effective things to be profitable. So think about this. So prioritize your time, prioritize your energy for studying, target something specific, become a specialist in that, become a very high level specialist in that. So for instance, like what we do at Wyckoff Analytics is we're teaching students to become specialists in chart reading. And we want their level to be at the extreme level so that they would see everything. Like the clarity of the reading of the chart would be like at that high level. And then from there, we teach them how to trade that because those are two different things. Seeing is not necessarily equates to profits. I always say like knowledge does not equate to skill. Skill of visual recognition does not equate to the skill of execution. So skill of execution does not equate to the understanding of how you need to size up the position and risk management of it. Understanding of that does not equate that you're going to be accurate and efficient in your trading. And even that does not mean that you're going to execute at the very high level because of your mental landscape, trading against yourself, trading against that fate. And then even after that, if you understand your mental playbook and you know how to deal with that, the idea, the last step that I see in our training with a lot of people and just throughout the company and talking to so many traders, it's the acceptance of the abundance of the flow. The flow is there. There is so much money. There are so many opportunities in trading to do and to make. And to accept that at the higher level, that's the last step where you have to completely give up yourself and then be in that flow, and then you could abundantly benefit from it.
Yeah. Oh man, Roman, I have so many questions in mind right now from what you were talking about so far. I mean, trading against your fate, strong enough. But what I also learned from your from your points here is that there might be a point where you should stop learning about the markets and strategies unless you want to find some kind of academic approach to it, or go deep down into the rabbit hole. But for like most of us, it's like, okay, that's it, stop it. And now look into yourself. And that's also my experience. That's the lifelong journey as a trader. What do you think?
There is a subconscious benefit to everything that we do in the market.
Mhm.
As a quote, I would usually say, everybody gets from the markets what they want. So true. Yeah, so true. If you want not to be in the mental state of anxiety when you put on the trade, when you put on the risk,
Mhm.
and you actively avoid that by doing different things. For instance, you hoard knowledge because this is a withdrawal mechanism for you, then you will be justifying and validating yourself as like, I'm so knowledgeable, but still not making money, or not making enough money, or not making consistently the money. And you are never gonna be advancing in the idea that, I'm gonna go on the run and make like a chunk of money, because this is my goal.
Yeah.
So people just don't see that because usually it's all in the unconscious, and there is such a strong validation, which is a positive benefit, emotional benefit from like, I'm learning, I'm doing something, I'm spending time. Well, have you seen me work for 10 hours yesterday reading the books and watching the podcasts? I'm learning actively. But in reality, you're not learning how to trade, how to behave in the moment when you are in that anxious state of accepting the risk. I mean, we are not naturally suited to trade. I specifically, with my mental landscape, is not fit for trading. I could be technically fit for trading. I understand the concept. I see it on the chart. I could quickly kind of like orient myself around the structure. But psychologically, I am absolutely unfit to trade it. And it's it is something that you need to understand about yourself, because with the acceptance of who you are, your trading identity or yourself, this is the first step to devising the plan of like, how could I overcome this? Because you have to. And then you start working. You start back engineering, you start going to the drawing board, and you're saying like, okay, well, what am I lacking technically, and what am I lacking mentally? Just work and train yourself on that.
Yeah. I mean, there's also something, it's not a misconception most people have. I think a lot of them already know, yes, I'm some kind of mental factor as well. But when you say, basically, we're not designed as human beings for being a trader.
Not
So
at all.
what's wrong with us? Or you're from the mental aspect, so you're not really ready to be a trader, something like this. So I mean, a lot of people they just bring it to the point where they start talking about how the brain is set up, and talking about parts of your brain and reptile brain and all that stuff, to explain why it's so difficult for us human beings to be a trader, a professional trader, and behave professionally, which another part of professional is, right? Behavior. So therefore, so why is that? I mean, obviously, trading is the only profession which just brings us into the market on the one hand, and brings us into insanity on the other hand, right? So why is that?
There could be so many reasons or explanations
Yeah.
given as an answer to this question. To me, the way how I explain it to myself and to our students is that we're just not wired to take risk. Throughout the
Mhm.
history of human society, we needed to survive. It's a survival protection mechanism. So when you go on a hunt, you're trying to survive, not to be killed, right? And to still
Oh
bring
yeah.
something home, right? So we are protecting ourselves. And I think on a very, 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 very deep unconscious level, this is the thing. So when we enter into a trade, it's a state of anxiety. It's the state of like survivalship. And that's what produces that anxiety that goes into the reactions based on the emotions, based on the past, based on how we see the chart. So with that, that's why I say that we usually not suited for this. There are random people that come through our programs that actually have that mental landscape. And when people ask me, like, what do you consider natural talents? Do you see that people come to you and they have a talent for trading? What is that?
Mhm.
How would we define what is the talent to be talented in trading? I usually say two things. The first one is the visual recognition. Do you see the patterns right away on the
Yeah.
chart? That's just on the technical part. That I could develop for you, and it's going to depend just how visual you are, how pattern oriented you are, how systematic your logic is. And that's going to require either a short period of time or a longer period of time, just depending on your level. The second thing as a talent that I always say is the mental landscape. How do you react to in situations that have stress and anxiety behind it? And when people come to me, I usually ask them if I want to know the technical level, I will put the chart in front of them and just go through the chart and explain me your logic. If I want to understand the mental landscape, I'm going to ask you one question. Describe to me the most dramatic situation in your life and tell me how did you go through that? And I will
Mhm.
know everything about your trading right away.
All right. So, what is the perfect mental landscape then? So, in terms of what is the perfect answer
Someone
for a
who,
trader, obviously.
yeah, someone who in the mental state of anxiety is non-reactive to the emotional impulses
Mhm.
and maintains the ability to stay with the logic for a long period of time.
Mhm.
That creates the capacity, mental capacity to stay conscious, let's say during the session or day to day, depending on the time frame, and logically analyze the truth of the chart for what it is and not for what you think it is or reactively, like how you behave the chart. I mean, like at the very high level of training that we have in our company, we say that we don't trade the chart. We don't trade patterns. We trade ourselves on the chart. So we kind of like
Cool.
trade the mental landscape at the spots where I know like I'm going to be premature here. So I need
Yeah.
to be aware of that. I need to overcome this in the moment and create a completely different profile for the trade.
Yeah.
So that's what
So,
we're trading ultimately. We're trading ourselves on the chart. We're not trading the chart itself.
yeah. Yeah. I totally agree. I mean, there's this one question that bothers you all the time. You see a signal and you feel like, yeah, but what if, you know? And is this the pain
Yes.
point for traders? Yeah,
No,
but
that's
what?
just that question that you described is just one of the elements of the mental playbook or
Right.
what it should be. Because in all of our studies of our trainees that go through such an intense training schedule,
Yeah.
it just like they get exhausted after like 2, 3 months of training mentally. But that's what we do. That's just us. This is just me. This is how I wanted to build it, like that type of intensity. So this moment comes very often. And we describe it like this. You could have the logical 20 points of evidence that this is going to be an accumulation.
Mhm.
And then your unconscious is going to start protecting you from a potential failure of what you're trying to create as your analysis. And
Mhm.
it will bring only one factor against those 20. And
Mhm.
we've done this so many times, like on I mean, like I've analyzed over 10,000 trades since last October. So like in 8 months or so, 10,000
Yeah.
trades of our trainees. And I see this pattern over and over and over again.
Mhm.
Only one reason, but it has to be a true reason. So when you say like, oh, I see that this let's say like the ISM movement is happening, I see the absorption through the trading range, I see that we are starting to increase the movement advancement of the price to the upside, I see that the volume is starting to expand, everything becomes bullish. But and then that one reason comes, but the price is at that resistance.
Yeah.
And then that one reason, you know, deviates us from our logic. It disconnects us from the consciousness of the logic. And this is
Mhm.
where a lot of failures happen. So very common place.
Yeah. Yeah. Which turns us to the what if question, right?
Mhm.
And so therefore, it's not just about over trading, it's also about overthinking.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this is very interesting because, when I talk with coaches as well, there's yeah, should I go into the market? You have the signal, you have a turnaround, everything is in place. But it's like 5 minutes or 10 minutes before market opens. Shall I
Mhm.
take the trade? But what if? But then you wanted to chart and see like you have a huge candle as follow through, which brings you to the moon with your account, but you didn't take the trade because, yeah, but what if? But I have like opening, and I'm pretty sure everyone is very familiar with this question or a similar one, and everybody knows what happens after. And this is the most, from my point of view, this is the most devastating situation for a trader because you see because you already had it in your hand, but you let it go. And then your mind kicks in and treats you like, but the next trade, it has to be that next big winner, which of course turns to be the opposite, right? And all the
Brilliant.
games are in place.
Brilliant. I know
Agreed?
exactly the trader that you are. We
Yeah.
never talk about other people. We never ask other people questions about themselves. We only talk about ourselves and we only ask questions that, pertain to us. So what I would suggest in this situation is again, understanding, awareness, first after the fact, and then in the moment when it happens, that this is me. This is how I
Mhm.
function. This is my behavior. And then
Yeah.
creating, like you created a trading plan for the technicals, create a mental plan. At this
Yeah.
spot, when I become aware, what do? I have step one, step two,
Mhm.
step three. I'm not going to go into the technology of this. I mean, like we have this developed, but it's a little bit proprietary. So, but just go for it, explore and create a mental trading plan for those type of spots.
Exactly. You need some rules to hold on to, like
Mhm.
some guide helping you through this question and to answer it, not without thinking, not with thinking, but with knowing, okay, if this, then that.
Yeah,
So,
I'm gonna give you the final answer to this sequence. Like whatever steps you're gonna create there in your mental playbook. It all should bring us back to the consciousness of logic. And the
yeah,
logic should overwhelmingly win in that situation. And if you practice this many, many times in your simulations practice or in real time trading,
yeah,
only then you will gradually, first marginally and then exponentially, will change this behavior.
yeah. So this means you trade what you see, no matter what.
You trade the truth of the chart. There is only one truth. There are
Yeah.
many methodologies and ways to see this truth and to trade this truth, but the chart is only one truth. There is nothing else.
See, Roman, that's the reason why I love trading so much because it's not about the money, it's not about the process. Yeah, it's about the process, but it's more about, for me, this is something I haven't seen anything like trading in my life in the whole world, which comes close to the experience, questioning yourself over and over again.
So see, you are attracted to the journey of self through trading.
Of course. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
But
True.
at the end, again, like everybody gets what they want from the markets, right? So I think that we need to understand like that aspect of trading, why we're doing this, why we're spending so much energy, time, time away from something, to and devoting ourselves to this craft. So my suggestion would be we are all multifaceted in terms of our goals, in terms of the unconscious and conscious goals. So make it multifaceted, your goals in trading. I love to explore the markets because of the intellectual pursuit. Maybe this could be a goal. Okay, great. You could devote time to that. I want to make money out of the market and be at that professional level. Let's say, 10 to 20,000 per month. Okay, great. This is a great goal. I want to explore the trading through the exploration of self because I see the immense value for my life for that. Absolutely. Go and create those goals and have them as like multi-layered goals that is a part of different ideas. Because if you're just going to concentrate on intellectualization of the markets, then you will never get away from, knowledge hoarding and you're just going to sink into that, which is fine. I mean, like, if this is your goal, I only in support of that. I support any goal. Like one thing in coaching that I figured out in the last, like almost 15 years of coaching and teaching at kind of like at this very intense high level. I want to be in support of any of the students' ideas or goals.
Yeah.
To suggest something else, I can. But if there is some kind of resistance to that, there is no need for me to spend my energy coaching to something else. Like I've been in a lot of those situations. So right now I clearly define like the boundaries of the engagements with trainees or with students. Like, we need to both understand that it's not just, your time, it's my time, it's my energy as well. I want to work on interesting projects. I want to work on interesting goals. I want to work on something that just like excites me as well, right? So, yeah, figure it out. What is your goal?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you nailed it exactly. And this also is the expression what a great coach you are, ladies and gentlemen. Roman Bogomazov. Seriously, seriously, because you got me. Because yes, of course, I'm not just going for the money. Money is what follows at the end anyway. But it's the self exploration welfare. Who am I in reality? I mean, I do a lot of courses for myself and try this and that. It's not really related to trading, but it's related to myself. And you totally nailed it. But there's some other things also in place, which is the academic approach of learning some logical stuff like, okay, what's behind this indicator? So how does this work? What happens then? Which is very interesting for me, not for everybody, but for me. And the fourth aspect is teaching, coaching, like bringing this to the other people, like a mission. I'm pretty sure you feel the same.
Yeah. Coaching and teaching is important in your progress as a trader as well. I mean, it
Yeah,
kind of does not fall into like, why would I be teaching? Why would I be coaching? Once you create your strategy, your approach, try to explain it under 5 minutes on one page, on one chart to someone else. And if you fail, then this means that your strategy is not that solid.
yeah,
So, like, there is a value of creative thinking about your, let's say, like technical elements of the trading plan that you could improve, that you could do through teaching and coaching. And there are different levels, right? So, like, we naturally, like, not just encourage, we kind of like sometimes push our trainees to teach other students. Why? Because we want them to go through this experience of teaching others. Yeah, and through that, they gain the depth of the concepts are much better. And then there is more congruency, acceptance, of those concepts in their minds.
yeah. Do you think, according to this, or other question related to this, why is that people tend to make things overcomplicated, like the strategies? Yeah, well, I'm just entering the market when condition A meets condition B meets condition C, and I have this indicator, I have this oscillator, I have this, that, and that. And if I see anything on my chart as well, I will figure out how to enter the market. Why is it people make things overcomplicated?
If I were to assume that at the start of your career, you probably looked at a lot of things. And maybe at the start of your career, and I'm asking you, Wieland, and this is kind of a question, you probably had on the chart like multiple things. And
Course.
now that I've known you for a little bit, like I see in this question that you went through the path of being more complicated, and now you're very simplistic in your approach. And I think this
Of
question
course.
tells me like you're trying to validate the simplistic approach. And I'm just doing the coaching a little bit here. From that perspective, the key as the next step for you emotionally is just to accept this validation. You're done. Like you've graduated to that level of understanding that there is no need for the complexity. And now you're like trying to go through the validation. I'm telling you right now, like don't spend your even mental energy on validating that thing because it's already you. It's in you. So just go with your simplistic approach. But yeah, if I were to answer like the question itself, I think it's kind of like the short answer to this. Yeah, the much more simple the strategy is, it's more solid, but you have to have a lot of complexity behind simplicity. So what we're seeing is a cycle of like when trainees come to us, we give them a lot of knowledge, right? So, and then it becomes very complex for them.
Yeah.
So they kind of sink in this complexity, and it takes them like a month and a half to structurize all of that in their heads. And then it starts to sink in, it starts to absorb, and then from complexity, it goes into the cycle of simplification. And then at the bottom of that cycle, they finally coming up with the idea, with the concept that it is extremely complex in understanding.
Mhm.
But as they went through studying it, it becomes a very simple on the chart, maybe like a tail, or maybe like a
Yeah.
body of the bar, or maybe like the compression, the expansion, or coming the specific resistance level. But behind that, like one simple idea is a lot of building of the blocks of the ideas, of the concepts that precede, maybe the background, maybe the strength, maybe like specific levels, maybe the level of compression, and a lot of those things that need to sink in. So yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Again, you nailed it. So, and yeah, I did my journey and I feel myself with my strategy and the Bollinger Bands and the candlesticks, which is a perfect combination for me and the
Mhm.
simplicity it offers. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm where I belong. So that's
Mhm.
true. But if you open this question to a more general approach, or maybe I tell you what I think about this, because when people start, they try to find some kind of security, some safety in the complexity, because the more complex it is, the more, you know, the more the more right it needs to be. This appears especially for, let's say, for Germans, like being engineers, having some more complicated approaches to things. So they like to see all these curves and
Yeah.
stuff and
Mhm.
filter things, like, oh, I have the confirmation here, confirmation there, confirmation
Mm.
again, and now that's a trait.
How
So
difficult it is for you to talk to your German colleagues and to persuade them that they need simplicity. My gosh, you are on a journey of
yeah, it's
convincing
true.
them to do that. Oh my gosh, yeah, wow. I would drop that too. There is no need to persuade people in one thing over another. But I see that in your identity, this is your mission, like as a human being, to bring help through that persuasion. Okay. Yeah, and there is also like you brought up the cultural element to this. We see that
Right.
as well a little bit. Again, like I have to be extremely PC, on air, but there are certain, cultural traits that we have as traders. I truly believe in that. I mean, like we're seeing those examples. I'm not going to go into those just again, like not to step into the hot water or anything.
Don't
Um,
worry. I'm German. I can talk about German, so that's
yeah,
okay.
but there is an interesting question that you pointed out to why do we do this, right? Why do we overcomplicate things in trading? I think, to me personally, and again, looking at a lot of, data points from trainees, from students. It's again the protection mechanism, withdrawal mechanism. So if I overcomplicate trading, what is the positive emotional benefit of that? I do not have to enough time to expose myself into the risk of the market. I'm not going to be trading that often. I'm not going to be concentrating on the trading execution where there is a lot of emotional pain that I need to overcome. In itself, avoidance of emotional pain as some like repeated mistake, and then I feel bad about myself. And I put the value of myself on that particular one single trade. That's usually how it happens, right? You have a drawdown, or you have a single trade that is like, a big losing trade, and then you're like, oh, some negative self-talk starts to kick in. I'm bad, and you want to withdraw from that pain. So you
Yeah.
or start, how could I do this? Oh, let me overcomplicate the system. Let me put so many charts. Let me
Yeah.
go and learn more. Or maybe like, let me put so many charts to confuse myself, to produce the loss, to produce the drawdown, to withdraw from the markets and to withdraw from that state of anxiety of the risk. So I
Mhm.
saw that just recently in one of our trainees. So his behavior was, like, let me do something to disengage from this mental state and disengage from the markets itself. And again, like as a coach, as a teacher, you have to see that. So
Mhm.
it's a very fascinating world of coaching and trading, like as a craft, professional kind of like coaching, professional trading. You see people for who they are instantly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
true.
if we're saying like there is a truth to the chart, then there is a truth for each person. Like that mental landscape is that truth, it's that fate. And from
Yeah.
that perspective, I mean, like when we're saying like, what's that expression like, oh, we're destined, like it's your destiny. So in my mind, when I hear that, oh, it's your destiny, I know exactly like for me what it means. It means that based on my upbringing, based on my, cultural upbringing, based on where I am right now, I'm exhibiting the same emotional, behavioral algorithms that repeat. I get myself into the same situations and I, behave the same in trading. And then trading it all repeats, repeats, repeats. On the top of that, trading is highly stressful environment for us, like historically, as a human society, as a human species. So, and that produces, more of the level of the reactivity where we're reacting too much by trying to protect ourselves. And therefore, 99% of people fail. Or let's say the 5% that actually make money out of that 5%, only like 0.00, like 1% or whatever incremental number of it making millions, and everybody else making like, okay, $1,000 here, maybe $10,000 here. That's it. But like a meaningful amount of money, abundance of it, like, like Warren Buffett, that type of abundance, that comes, to just the smallest percentage, just because, they can accept, that type of flow.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, you have to let yourself go in a certain way just to follow what the market does. I mean, one most interesting point always is if you look at the chart and you look at, what happened since yesterday or like before yesterday, and you see all the historic data. You get a perfect system. You see, okay, I have to enter here. It's logical because you don't have any news coming in. You don't have any thoughts what might happen next because you look at the chart. It's clearly a buy. It's clearly a sell done. But and you don't think about money. But when you're in the life, in the battlefield, when when in the middle of everything just comes in. And to make it even worse, you just have on your screen the money coming in or going out, red, green, red, green. It's killing. So that's, I
Yeah.
think, one of the mistakes people do. They watch the money, and money is, I don't know why, it's so deep related to ourselves that, of course, it's one of the biggest factors to disturb ourselves to being great traders.
Well, think about this. I mean, we have in our society some kind of assessment of people, the worthiness of people based on how much money they made during their life,
Right.
right? in their profession, in their craft. So there is like this equation of like, oh, he made this much, so this means that he's that good, something like that.
Mhm.
So each trade, each loss is an equation of that self-worthiness. So
Yeah.
imagine yourself if you equate it like this, then the 1,000 failures that you need to do to go through to get to that level of mastery where you're consistently profitable. And I'm not saying even abundantly profitable, but consistently profitable. Then, 1,000 mistakes that you're going to go through every time you're going to, put yourself down. So
Yeah.
you can't be in that state of mind. So we train our students to have a different mindset when they come in. We actually say that we welcome mistakes because it's an opportunity to learn about what we don't see on the chart technically and to learn about ourselves. What do we not see in ourselves mentally? So therefore, we have a club which we call 1,000 mistakers. So whoever gets to 1,000 mistakes first wins, and you have to not just make the mistake because one of the things that like people that again trying to withdraw, trying not to learn, like they would register a mistake, but they would never analyze the mistake. And
Yeah.
that's a mistake in itself. So the mistake that was not analyzed from your trading is like that tree falling in the forest and no one hears that it fell. So you have to do your PTA, post-trade analysis. You have to get the feedback and you have to understand the commonality of the mistakes that you make. And you need to devise the plan on how to combat that commonality of the mistakes. And you need to actively engage your consciousness during live trading to recognize that this mistake is happening right now and actively pursue the adjustment in the moment. And it's extremely hard to do.
Yeah. So how do you feel about this concept of self-responsibility, which is also something what people struggle with, I guess, a lot, because they're just having signal services or go. I was talking with a guy, and do you do copy trading? It's just like give me the money, but not the work. you know? So and it's also avoiding responsibility for the results. So how does this fit into everything?
Yeah, again, just if you think that, there is a protective nature to our ego, well, then again, it's kind of a protection. So there is a positive benefit to all of this, which is in opposition to our desires and wishes and goals. We want to make money, but like let me take less responsibility. I'm not going to commit as much, and therefore I'm going to fail. And if I fail, then I don't have to do it. I don't have to experience that mental state. But let me just be around. Maybe I'm going to do this multiple cycles. And then I have a sense of belonging, whether it's belonging to the trading itself or to that commitment or to the community that you're engaged, with trading and so on and so forth. So I usually know from the verbalization from students or trainees when they commit. It's a very clear moment to me. And the responsibility, the self-responsibility equates for me to the actual commitment to make it.
Yeah, yeah,
When I
true.
hear, and I don't know if I should say this in the interview, like I want to keep it a little bit like as a secret because maybe somebody will listen to me and they will come and they will become our trainee. So I want to hear that from them. But
Just
there's
general, yeah,
yeah, in general terms, you need to commit. You need to like basically say that you're gonna make it.
yeah,
Like you need to make it mentally in the moment of that commitment, despite of all of the work that is ahead of you that needs to happen, and with huge realization of what kind of energy and time will be spent on this, and that you're willing to go through all of those 1,000, 10,000 mistakes and you're willing to emotionally neutrally accept the feedback and the outcome of any trade, and that you will never put any meaning into one single trade, one single loss, one single win as well, because we see the spectrum of emotional extremes on both sides. And to me, whether you are fearful or you're euphoric, it's the same state. I mean, like, just polarity is different. So I want you to be in a more balanced state where the logic resides. So with that, I mean, just a matter of making that commitment. Can you commit to this? I mean, like, if, as you take in classes, as you're reading a book, listening to another podcast, or listening to another YouTube video on trading, are you really committed to that improvement? Are you really committed to making that, financial goal? Maybe 10, 20,000, maybe you want to make 100,000, maybe you want to make 1 million, maybe it's a 10 million, but are you committed to that? Do you understand
Yeah.
what it's going to take? That it's not going to take a month. It's going to take at least a couple of years of intense training, self-training, probably more, like 5 years. And, with that, you're going to spend like, 8, 12 hours a day looking at the chart and analyzing it, trading, and then, doing your post analysis, doing your mental post analysis, creating algorithms, exploring yourself. And that takes time. As I always say, change takes time, whether on the chart or with you. Change takes time. So, I mean, the journey could be so short to the excellence. It's just that 99% of people either do not understand the level of commitment that is required to get to this level, or they do understand, and by understanding how intense it should be, and what they need to do, the amount of work that needs to be done, or maybe they understand that they will need to go in and discover something in the darker nature of themselves, and that scares them. So then there is no that commitment, but there is association. And I sympathize a lot with this type of people, and I see a lot of them in our students and in traders that I meet and so on and so forth. And you still have to be respectful for people, because I mean, the mental landscape is a mental landscape, and again, as a coach, you have to be attuned to what is, right? So, and only when the person gives you the permission of like, push me, then I'm gonna push. Like, if you tell me you want me to push you to the maximum level of where you are right now, and we've done this so many times in the training program. Yeah, we push people to that level, and then we demand that people stay there and improve incrementally. And it's really hard, because mentally it exhausts you, because it's the uncomfort zone. Where change happens, it's very painful, it's very uncomfortable, it's unsustainable for a long period of time. And so with that, you spend a lot of energy, physical energy and mental energy, and depletes you. And you have to go through kind of like those mistakes again. It's kind of like a Navy SEAL training mentally. It's like Olympic preparation type of mentally. And every day you trade, let's say like you're a day trader, think of it as a mental Olympics that you have to be at each day. So
Yeah.
what kind of mental drainage you're going to have? Absolutely. So you have to think also in terms of your energy. I don't know if that would make sense, but at least that's what our
It
research is
does.
showing.
It makes sense in all means. I mean, what you're talking about right now, and I bring about just in a short sentence, it's the shortcut to success,
Yes.
commitment. And it makes perfectly sense, because with all the obstacles we have in ourselves, all the fights against ourselves, why should I do this? Why should I open the door to my darkest inner self? Why should I do this? Because I want to reach something. And to do this, I need to have commitment. I never have this commitment to follow that path and to open all these doors and look into all these boxes, Pandora's included, right?
Yeah.
So if I really want to reach this, if I really want to go there, I am able to do this. And that's something That's not true just for trading. It's true for life in general,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, trading is like life. I mean, like you could take any craft. The goal is the same, just to
Right.
reach self-realization of who you are, why you are this way. You know, maybe you could improve yourself. Maybe you could make the someone very psychologically smart, told me one time, you will never escape yourself emotionally. Like you're always going to be who you are, but you could decrease the amplitude of self. So
Yeah.
meaning that if you are like this, you could decrease the amplitude of your reactions and go through life like this. Much easier. You will live longer. Yeah. So, but easier said than done. It's the constant work each day. It's the constant kind of like pursuit of excellence, whether, like you're pursuing excellence as a human being or as a trader. So, yeah, it takes time. Change takes time.
It does. And also something which what you mentioned right now is that having this excellent as a trader and but also as a human being. In one of my books I wrote, is a trader a better human? I mean, it's very tough to
I
say
would
that,
say,
you
yeah,
know.
maybe
I
like
mean,
the elite trader is the elite trader about a human, a trader who went through the whole journey, who is making money consciously, right, by understanding him or herself. I think that's that definition. Yeah, an improved
yeah,
human being emotionally.
emotionally, that's the point, in terms of your behavior, in how you react to your own emotions. If people not self-conscious about what is going on yourself, with the slightest mistake, they freak out because of their emotions in every aspect, not just in trading, but in life in general. But if you've been through all the journey, and if you open these boxes, if you brought out all the trash that's sitting inside you, and as traders, we need to do this one or
We
the
have
other
to.
term, right? We have to. We definitely have to do this.
There's no other
It
way.
makes us a better human,
Yeah,
hopefully, right?
there is
Because
no other way.
no, you cannot be a professional in a trading environment and being complete opposite in real life. It's not possible. It's always
Mhm.
you. And this is something where I'm thinking about like all the time, because you're right. I am the guy doing all this self-improvement. I do this for years. Let's say for almost
You
20
know that
years.
even this podcast is one of the multi-steps that you've done in your life to
Of
self-improve.
course.
Like this is your voice right now. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
I know. I know. I'm
Mhm.
I'm not shy in saying that
Yeah, that's
choosing
good.
my
Yeah. Mhm.
interview partners is of course like a coaching for myself, because I want to know about, hey, what are you doing? And I want to listen to, okay, maybe it's a good idea for myself.
Yeah.
But I'm not so different and far away from all the other ones down
Mhm.
out there in the markets, having the same thoughts, same problems, same questions.
We're
And
all
I'm
the
just
same.
asking,
Yeah.
right? We're all in the
Skin
same
and
boat.
bones, all the same, different mental landscapes, but very similar. There are a lot of like patterns that I see throughout, like a lot of data points, and they just repeat. So we have like the same type of technical problems, we have the same type of psychological problems. Well, because we live in the same society.
Of course, of course. Yeah, definitely these are my questions, but not just mine. Pretty
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah,
So
but I am like happy to see the progress at any level, And
yeah,
what you're showing to me is that you have that awareness of who you are. I see the mind being curious about this to the point where it's like in the solution mode, like what's my next step? So like I'm sensing it in you.
yeah, yeah, sure. Yeah, sure. So looking, oh my, we already are about 1 hour or something like this. Just one question or one more. Is there some kind of, let's say I want to start with trading and now I'm stepping from out of my shoes. So let's say I want to start with trading. What gives me the best start? What do we have to take care of? What do we have to look for? What do I have to do? How can I prepare myself for that journey?
You mean if you're a complete beginner. You've never
So
done
total
anything.
fresh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, wow. That's that could be quite a journey, like to start at the beginning. Well, I'd say like first, just like try to get some kind of understanding of how other people do this. Find
Yeah.
the best practices based on how you see it. Ask around, join communities, explore. So I would say like do your research first. Like
Yeah.
what is trading? Trading is about. How do you go about that? So then, the next stage is education. Start educating yourself on different principles, on different methodologies, and then something is going to click. Something like for me, it was Wyckoff methodology. It made a lot of sense. The balance between supply and demand being shown on the chart, the presence of institutional traders and how they behave. That's like the depths of my technical exploration. Then once you identified like what resonates with you on the technical level, become a specialist in that, become a very proficient specialist in this. Then next step, understand how to trade that, proficiency. You need to understand that the knowledge does not equate to successful trading. And I think this is a big disconnect sometimes, especially in the retail community. So then start building up like the understanding of how you trade that. Once you've done that and you have a lot of trading data points, you could start analyzing your behaviors through your trades. So then once you start understanding that, even though you have the knowledge, you see it on the chart, you start executing it, but you're not executing it correctly. So this gap between the technicals and like the execution, it's the mental gap. So now go into the same process with the mental stuff and start exploring, start understanding why you behave at this spot in a specific way. Build up your mental algorithm, build up your mental playbooks, and then install that into your system. And then once you are done with that, then start working on the like overall very deep unconscious beliefs about the acceptance of the abundant flow of money and everything and opportunities and the way how you see the markets. And that's your last step. And then after that step, and I went through this cycle earlier in my career. I'm like in the second cycle of the same thing, and I'm starting at the beginning again. So it's like a big, big, big cycle when you go and you achieve that, and then like the goals that you had, like the goals that I had 20 years ago, I achieved, majority of them. So now I was thinking about what is the next 20 years. So I'm starting the new cycle from the beginning again. And then during that transition period, I've experienced like such self-actualization through trading that it didn't really matter whether I traded anymore or not. And just to get
Yeah.
to that calm place where it's your choice, do you see an opportunity? Do you want to trade it? Okay, go for it. If you don't trade it, that's fine as well. And now I'm getting myself back a little bit because I see something bigger on the horizon, for myself and for our students. And it
Yeah.
excites me. And I need to be in the students' mindset. And a lot of the time I'm there throughout my week, throughout each day, going through all of the meetings and podcasts and all that stuff. And it's exciting. I hope you feel it, like I'm
Totally.
on the new journey. So it's it's great.
I'm so much looking forward to hearing more of this and to see all the progress. That's why, also, Roman, and you totally mentioned, yeah, of course, the podcast, the German and the English version, both are part of my journey, and I love it. And I will not stop it because it's
Do
so
not
cool.
stop.
Why should I? I
Yeah,
meet so many
yeah,
great people. I have so many great insights. It's
yes,
such a gift. And of course, I want to share it. I'm a person who likes to share. And, by doing this,
yeah,
everyone everybody has benefit from it.
Yeah, maybe as the last thought to this wonderful podcast, and thank you for triggering so many. I feel like I'm venting a little bit because every day is intense in the training, and
Yeah.
sometimes we're in our vacuum of training. But to step out into the outside world like this and to talk to you, and just you have a lot of knowledge about this craft. So with that, to share thoughts at this level, just fantastic. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gosh, I lost my thought. I was going where I was going with that. Oh boy, we need
The
to cut
good
this
thing is,
out.
no, we don't.
No,
Because,
we
the
don't.
good thing
A
is
natural
we
thing
can,
to happen.
that's a point, being authentic, being real. We're not in a group here promising everything. We're real. So
Mhm.
that's the point. And, Roman, I enjoyed it so much. And the good thing is we can continue. We will do this.
Okay,
So
yeah, sure.
thank you so much for sharing and also all the insights and especially for that topics that a lot of people just miss. And it's so important to look inside of yourself and not just on the charts and to combine both later then. So thank you so much for all the insights and for the time you invest here, your contribution.
Absolutely.
So happy to talk with you and to see you again in San Francisco, somewhere else, and of course online with the next session we have pretty soon, I hope. So thank you again. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Wieland, and thank you to all of the listeners, who got to this point and, who listened to us earlier. I hope that the information that I've given, all of these thoughts resonate with all of you at the level that you are right now. This knowledge is something that might come later on, like as an aha moment, as a revelation, as something that you will be doing maybe even 10 years from now, and then you will be remembering, like, oh, what does it mean to trade against your fate? That's what he meant. That's what it means to me right now. I understand it this way right now. So I'm giving you, 30 years of my trading journey experience, condensed into like the conceptual thinking about trading and how it should be or how it is, at least for us or for me, in literally 1 hour. So, I mean, like, there are so many layers to all of this. And I just hope that you stay on the journey because there is nothing else to do. I mean, like, if you have some goals around your trading, there is nothing else to do but just to work each day on improving yourself. And that is the journey. And sometimes we're also being caught up in the journey itself. And it becomes a little bit heavy for us. You know, Usually when we have this feeling in training, we just say, like, it's mindless. Be in the free state of not putting a lot of emphasis on what you do with trading. Just keep going, but keep going in a qualitative way. Seek that 1% improvement each day. And with that, it will bring you to some places that you have not just dreamt of, but beyond that. You could be surprised, as a lot of our students are. So, and with that, good luck.
That's already it. And I really hope that you enjoyed this episode and you took away some learnings for your personal trading. If you want to learn more about me, about my interview partners, if you want to have a one-on-one coaching or even get into a training course with me or my interview partners, just get into the show notes and follow one of all these links you find there. And then I will be happy to hear and see you again. Your Wieland Arlt.